What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and as always, most of all, happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
This is Motivation Monday. If you're new here, or even if you've been around forever, this is the episode where we answer 3 of your questions. We get into where we're at on our personal journeys. We share some of our favorite quotes, showcase a client who's been killing it, and essentially we just hang out and get fired up on this Monday. And if you're listening to a different day, that's okay too. But our goal here is to get you fired up, to get you inspired, to get you educated, so you can push forward and further in your journey. And we always like to start it off with a quote that has really inspired us, that has really pushed us forward and makes us just want to continue to succeed. So take it away, Kyle.
So this quote, Josh and I were actually talking about last week and, just having a conversation. A lot of these things kind of stem from our convos and what we come across. And, one time we'll have to just film a bunch of things on the top of our head. And that's something we'll talk about after, just like the day-to-day stuff and these little things that we kind of go through our conversations, which you'll love. But we were saying that the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. And this was actually from Ed Latimore. I'm not exactly sure who that is, but I just think it's such a powerful quote because of course there's heavy weights there. But a lot of times when you actually think about it, for some people, the hardest thing is just getting themselves in there. Once you get in there, your body takes over, your mind takes over. There will be those hard days, those easy days, and those okay days. But at the same time, just getting in there will be a challenge for a lot of people. And even to this day, it's never the easiest thing. And sometimes it takes a little bit of convincing for myself, especially when I'm working out by myself. But I think for anyone out there, like once you realize that you get yourself in there, yes, it will be a challenge, but so much credit to any of you who show up, who put in that work. But just remember, yes, the heaviest weight will be the front door, but it'll pay off and it'll be worth it every single time.
Yeah, sometimes it's just hard to stay on schedule, just to get in there to do that basic thing. And oftentimes people will say, well, what do you do when you're not feeling it, or when you're not feeling inspired to work out, or you don't want to work out? And the best thing you can do is try and get your mindset right before there. I'll always listen to like motivational videos. I'll bump my favorite music in the car. There's always pre-workout. Like there's a lot of tools you can do to start getting yourself primed for it. You can invite a friend. Like there's a lot of things you can do to improve the quality of that workout. But in general, I just find just get in there, start going, and then before you know it, it'll be done. You'll be happy you banked it. And I think what's really, really good, and what is a nice segue into my quote, as normally it ends up being, this quote I heard this week on a reel from Chris Williamson. He shared it. He wasn't the actual author, but like he was clearly very inspired by this quote, and I was too. And I was actually telling everyone about it. It was Canadian Thanksgiving here. We're like a month ahead with that. So we've already celebrated that, had all the good stuff, all the turkey, all that wonderful time that I know everyone's looking forward to in November from the US. And I was sharing this quote with everyone. Everyone's like, wow, this is good stuff. So my quote this week is, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. And this quote just hit me like a brick because I think it's so easy to say like, oh, I want this, or I need to do this, or me and Kyle always mention about like different things we need to do, projects, whatnot. And oftentimes like we know what to do, and we spoke about this the week previous. You just got to go out there and do it. And oftentimes those things we're avoiding are what are going to produce the results. Like if you're avoiding getting to the gym whatsoever because you're overthinking what you should be doing there, what equipment, avoiding injury, all these things, like you're overcomplicating what you need to get done. And it's sometimes just about doing that basic, boring, simple work that you know is going to propel you forward, that's going to advance you in your journey. And it's oftentimes the things we overlook. But if you're honest with yourself, you'll know like, okay, this is what I need to do, and this will likely produce that magic I need. And when you look at it that way, I just find it's very just awesome, because it makes you be like, okay, I'm going to do that thing that I find hard, or that's difficult, or that throws me off. Or if you're not tracking your food, and when you do, you see more results, you need to track your food. You need to be consistent with it. And it's not one thing. It's not enough to just say, I want to do better with it. You got to create systems and habits and routines to make it easier. I do my spreadsheet every day, just like I have my clients do. And I like this because it's like 2-factor authentication. Like there's a double review process from yourself. In order to fill out my spreadsheet, I need to be tracking in MyFitnessPal. So there's 2 steps. And then every morning when I put the previous day in, I can look through my week. I can look through the trend of my weight. I can see how I was yesterday, and it motivates me to do better and better. And that's me making it easier by doing that little bit of extra work. Yes, I might add 5 minutes total to my day between tracking and inputting in my spreadsheet, but I have a great overview of where I'm at in my journey. It really motivates me to make sure I get that done. And I know when I'm tracking, when I'm aware, it's going to make me progress so much faster than when I'm just loosey-goosey and hoping to do better, hoping to eat healthier, get my protein. Like, hope isn't a strategy. We've said it before. And oftentimes it's these tedious small things that you may be avoiding, like getting to the gym at consistent time. We have countless examples, but this quote to me is just really powerful. And I think you can take it outside of the gym. Like, what work are you avoiding in your social life, in your relationship, in your business life, your work, whatever it may be? Like, if you apply this, or you're tired every day, you need to actually put in work to have good sleep. And that does take work. It takes systems and processes. And once again, you need to commit to those to actually see that change. But if you look at it like this and actually make changes, you'll notice a big change in your life, because it's often these small things that we get caught up on that cause us to fail. Like, a lot of clients of mine, they say, hey, when I listen to your podcast Monday and Thursday, I'm fired up, carries me through the week, gets me excited towards fitness, makes me want to go to the gym. And then some weeks they'll say, oh, I haven't listened in a while. I'm like, hey, well, keep listening. Like, if that works, keep doing it. For me, like, oftentimes the last thing I want to do is watch a motivational video. There'll be like 80 other videos on YouTube that are clearly more entertaining and exciting, but I'm like, yeah, I know this is going to fire me up. It's going to get my mindset right. And that's why when I start my day too, I make sure that I actually spend my time reading, spend my time journaling, I do my meditation, and I honestly don't want to do it probably more often than not, but I know it puts me in this good place, this good mindset, and it's something I do consistently, and I reap the rewards for it. So once again, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
I really like that, because I've been there many times over, and I know a lot of people have as well. And I think where some people get caught up is because they try to find every other reason that something's going wrong, like, versus the thing that's like right in front of us. So if you're struggling with losing weight, like, you don't really want to face the fact that it's the nutrition there, it's the portion control, it's the, the weekends, and you'll kind of just try to like go around it and just find every other thing possible. Just be like, oh, well, there's that person that's, potentially kind of harming me there, or just, oh, it's this thing or whatever it is. And even myself, I've had to say, hey, like, you're just not training hard enough, Kyle. Like, just there's no other reason why you're not gaining as much muscle as you want to. You're just not putting in that work. Whereas, like, instead, some people are like, oh, well, I forgot to take my supplement here, or I got to buy that supplement. So I think it is so important to just like ask yourself what it is that you're avoiding, because I think that honestly can solve so many different problems, especially with procrastination being such a huge issue for 99% of people. Just naturally, we want to procrastinate. So I really like that, and hopefully that helps you in some way or another.
Yeah, now we're going to go ahead and jump into our thoughts. And my thought is a really good one for this week. So I heard this. It's another thing that hit me, and it's something I want you to think of. And we mentioned before how these quotes can be mantras. We have some of our favorites. I've been posting one to like our Instagram. When you go to your DMs, you'll see those notes. I've been posting something there every day. And examples of some of the ones I posted this week were results are excuses. You can't have both. How you do anything is how you do everything. Like, my favorite kind of big ones there, it's extra motivation, because I know when you go into your DMs, you see us pop up with that extra encouragement, that extra motivation, that carries, that goes far. So even for me, I know when I'm on top of doing these small little things, as tedious and small as they may seem, I know I have the capacity to help a lot of people, which is what really builds me up and excites me. So I'm just so happy to do that myself. And what this is what would you tomorrow want you today to do? And I love this because all the time, like, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm going to put it off, I'll deal with it later. And you're going to put yourself in through so much pain, or you're going to build it up or make it to be something worse than it is. Like, near the end of my school career, like, for a while, I was never a huge procrastinator, but I wouldn't do stuff as early as I knew I should. And I just started tackling it early, just doing a little bit by bit. And it made it so much better, because I'd know people that would do nothing till the day before, and they'd stay up till like 4 a.m, just like grinding, trying to write this essay, and it just like would be miserable. And they think they'd do themselves a favor by putting it off, but really they just made it so much worse. And in the day, it's so easy to do the same thing. Like, if I was to fully do just what I want to do in the moment, Probably sleep in, probably go eat some garbage, probably lay around, not get changed, just flick on the TV and just zone out, do nothing, scroll around mindlessly. Like that's what we would all do. But we'd feel horrible. We'd feel miserable. We'd be unhealthy. The next day would be brutal. We'd be overly tired. Like we've said before, like choosing your heart. And I think this is a great way to look at it, because what would you tomorrow want you today to do? Like what can you do today to make your tomorrow better, to put you in a better state, to get that small compounding positive progress? And when you look at it like this and you really just take those small things seriously, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm too busy to track my food. I'm too busy to be in the gym. Oh, like I worked out, that's good enough. It doesn't need to be a good workout, or I don't need to be as aware. I can be on my phone. It's totally fine. Like you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to do those things day to day that are big movers, even though they seem so minuscule. And people always say to me, what's the secret? How do I get so jacked like you? What do I do to get healthy? How do you stay so lean? This and that. And it's doing these mundane things well, doing them consistently, and really just making a point of finding a way to love them or make them as simple and painless as possible. And that's kind of what we built our entire coaching program around. Like for me, it always hurt me from the start seeing people be out of shape, being unhealthy, being unsure, trying every which what diet and paying all this money for quick fixes because it sounds sexier and it's more appealing, the thought of if you take this pill you'll look a certain way, but it's not going to solve the root of the problem. And we said before, don't try to fix problems, eliminate them. And by learning actually what food is, the makeup of food, how to eat, how to train, what's an effective routine, all these incredible tools, you can see more results long term. You can learn to love it. You can make it part of your life. And that's how you're going to get to super levels of fitness with very minimal work, and do it consistently, and have people come up to you all the time and say, what's the secret? And that truly is the secret. So that's my secret special announcement for everyone there. And like I said, like we do this for you. If you have a busy life, you have a lot going on, we're there to tell you exactly what to eat, why you're eating it, the systems of what you're doing, how to track forward, exactly why your routine how it is. We start off of your photos. So is there postural issues, injuries? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What can we build around? What's your level of fitness? What equipment do you have available? Are you at home? Do you have a really equipped gym? Like all these things need to be considered, and they need to be optimized. And when you have someone there to encourage you to help tomorrow you out, it's just such a step up. So if you're sick of not getting real results and you're tired of spinning your wheels, feeling like you're not seeing the progress you want, like you're wasting your time in the gym, like you're eating really healthy throughout the week only to fail on the weekend and just feel horrible about it, we want to get you real results. So if you want to go ahead and take advantage of this, DM me. I will take care of you. My Instagram's at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Just hit me with real results. I'll know you're someone who wants to level up, who's ready to see that change, and I will take care of the rest. So go ahead, shoot that message if you're serious about getting into coaching, because this will change your life. We guarantee results. It is a paid program, but when you pay and you invest in yourself, it's a magical, magical thing, because the stakes are real. You're actually going to show yourself you're serious about it. It's actually going to help you save money long term, because you're going to be eating better. You're going to show up in the gym. You're going to develop better habits, and you're going to stop trying to fill the voids in your life with other meaningless things like excessive shopping, excessive drug usage, like staying up mindlessly scrolling. Like these things all start to fade away when you actually have more of a purpose, when you lean into your fitness and your health. And we're just so passionate about it. So DM me real results. I'm going to give you a great deal to get started. I'm going to change your life, and the rest will be history.
Yeah, and especially because a lot of you don't know this yet, but the day that we're filming this is Coach Josh's birthday. So we're going to hook you up for that. We didn't do like a special episode, but you know, if you are listening to this, it is a couple days late in terms of his birthday. So that's why you do have to make sure you're following us on Instagram, checking out everything. We're messaging you in our broadcast channel, the notes, daily stories, daily posts. And so, you know, huge shout out to him. You know, today we're like, hey, what should we do? Just like every other day, healthy lunch, killer leg day. He was doing some crazy pause squats. If you saw that post, you'll see everything that he got up to. And a nice little bike ride, taking care of clients, filming our podcast if I haven't mentioned that. But, you know, so happy birthday to Coach Josh, of course, the big 28, you know, just amazing as we reflect. You know, I'm very grateful just how far we've come. And, yeah, I wouldn't be here without Coach Josh. So I think it's awesome. But the thing that I also wanted to talk about was like, I spent a lot of time in the gym overhearing conversations. I think a lot of times it's like the dressing room and like the sauna time where you kind of hear what some people get up to. And, the odd person will be like, I got to get my protein in right after my workout, or all these different things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I did want to just really remind people to focus on the biggest stuff that matters. And like, I've been guilty of this where I would be so focused on the small things that won't really change as much day to day. Like whether my shower is hot or cold doesn't make as big of a difference. Like I know it's a small percentage, and Huberman will say, hey, you got to avoid doing this after. And what I'm trying to get at is a lot of people be so focused on those small things, and then like they have, let's say, an hour to an hour and a half in the gym, not pushing the intensity, leaving 10 reps left in the tank, on the phone the whole time, chatting with people, but then be like, I'm going to try to do this after my workout to optimize. And, nutrition's horrible, not hitting enough protein, but I'm going to do this, fill in the blank. I'm going to take this supplement to try to make up for it. So I've been there, but I see a lot of times people, for those of you listening to this podcast, it's possible you're not doing that. For those of you who are new, I just really want to recommend paying attention to the biggest stuff. We only have so much energy to dedicate. And if we're just spending it everywhere between this supplement, this type of shower, like whatever it is, this type of thing after the workout, it can just kind of make you just be all over the place, right? So workout intensity, solid custom programming, good nutrition hitting your protein, high quality sleep with just great recovery, stress management. Like these are the things that really move the needle. It's not those small things. It's not those marketing gimmicks that they're going to try to sell you. And of course, when you come into our program, we'll simplify it. We'll actually save you money. Like the amount of people that have come in and said, hey, Kyle, what about this? No, you don't need this. Let's focus on that. And that's why, once again, our goal is to save you money, time, energy, and all that great stuff. And we can't wait to help some of you awesome people.
All right, now we're just going to quickly jump into this new segment. It was awesome to see that everyone really did appreciate that, and just kind of where we're at in our journey. And we've been pretty motivated. We actually just uploaded an awesome YouTube video, so definitely be sure to check that out. And we're really, really serious. I think it's a pretty typical thing of YouTubers, say we're going to get back at it, consistent uploads, all these things, and then life happens and it's hard to do. But we definitely have some plans to get back to long form content. So for us, even with YouTube, like a fun backstory, we started YouTube. Well, I did because I used to like upload like random rap videos for other people because my friend was making all this money on AdSense. So I would do that too. So I had like an Izzy Exalia channel, and like YouTube didn't have as much copyright at the time. So you could make money from it, which was pretty jokes. And then I'm like, why am I doing this for other people? Like I love fitness. I was writing routines for all my friends, like in my school and people outside of my school. I'd have like an email blast I'd send to like 30 people. Whenever I'd make a new routine, I'd be like, new routine dropped, and everyone would be fired up for it. And I was helping people in the gym, and I'm like, I can totally do this. Like I should do this. And I ended up uploading like a video in response to like a YouTube comment about something because someone thought I was just making stuff up, saying I couldn't deadlift 405. So I uploaded it with a few reps, and everyone's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, and YouTube commenter actually did what he said he would do. And then I like kept going from that, and then I shared my transformation, and then that faded off. I kind of lost passion for it because it didn't become an overnight instant success. And it's funny, in retrospect, it did so well, and it was such a mistake to like lay off the gas when I did, because I think sometimes we'll see really good progress, even people with their journeys, and it won't be like absolute like A to Z crazy blow your mind away progress, and people get discouraged. But any progress is amazing progress. And even if you get 1% better every day, that's a crazy rate of gain. You're getting well over 3 times better each year. And to anything you're doing, I think that's so important, especially the gym. But anyhow, we picked it back up with Kyle, and I'm like, let's just document a workout. So we did legs or something, filmed the voiceover for it, and that's what YouTube was around that time. This was like 2013, 2014. It really was just an amazing platform to showcase your journey, what you're doing, and how other people could apply things from it, go over some common tips and mistakes. And it was just a really, really fun platform for that. It wasn't overly edited. It was very simple. There wasn't as many fitness YouTubers, so like any good content was really amazing content. There was only a handful of big YouTubers at the time. Fast forward to now, like it really, really shifted, and it became these crazy edits, fast changes. Like you need to be super informative. You need to have that YouTube voice of what's going on. Like you really just had to be kind of crazy about it. And it was a competition for attention in that sense. And everything was short, snappy. And now I think what's really crazy is it's come full circle, because there's TikToks, there's Reels, there's so much fast, crazy, quick content that you get this really packaged short form content that doesn't get into meat and potatoes. And I think that's where podcasts have blown up. Like I know everyone and their brother has a podcast now, but it's really awesome to be able to just talk for a long time. Like I can convey so much more value in 40, 45 minutes to you, and you can learn so much more at so many different levels from this podcast than you would if it's a 10-second clip. Like we upload little clips from the podcast, but it's entirely different. So we want to get back to that for YouTube. Like we mentioned how we're both doing a bulk. We both want to put on muscle. Today's obviously my birthday. Thanks, Kyle, for the birthday wishes. And thank you to everyone who said it on Instagram. We obviously posted there. So if you're not there, you're missing out on some good stuff. And we had some little bonuses for that. Like we always like to give back to on our big days. But anyhow, we're really feeling inspired to get back to uploading some long form content, really documenting where we're at, showcasing how we want to put on muscle. And 28 for males is like we're kind of at that peak of our genetic capacity and sense of like natural hormones. Like your testosterone's pretty ramped right up until 30, and you'll start to see that tick down. And obviously men don't typically hit peak physique if they've been training since really early in their teens till about 40. Usually that's when you'll look your absolute most mint. But in terms of putting on a lot of muscle, this is like the most optimal time to do it. And I felt pretty inspired just to do it lately. And I think it's so fun to document that, to showcase what I'm doing, to showcase what I'm struggling with. And we really want to get back just uploading some more simple, just straightforward voiceover, why we do what we do, going through our programming. So you can definitely expect that. We'll let you know when that's done. We had a challenge that we want to have at least like 4 episodes ready before we launch it, so it can be like consistent Monday, Wednesday. But that's kind of where we're at. Otherwise, we've just been, well, for me at least, I've been training hard. I've really been eating right, continuing to gain about 0.5 pound a week, which has been phenomenal. Staying consistent throughout Thanksgiving, all that good stuff. But yeah, what about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I love YouTube, and I think it got tough like around that time where just everything had to be so perfectly packaged. And I think that's kind of what made me like fall out of love with it. Whereas like I just love talking to the camera, keeping it real, nothing like crazy, and just giving value and just hanging out with you guys. So I'm really excited about that. But personally, like workout wise, one thing I'm really trying to improve on, because I find that I can do really well with the intensity, but then there will be those days where I'm like, oh, I leave a caption to start typing like while I'm working out because we got to post something. And what I'm really trying to do is just like not allow myself to just like skip out on that like last set or second last set or whatever it is, because once again, our brains can go so many different ways. And I find that when I'm starting to think of like, oh, I should say this, or oh, I got to do this later, it's just so easy to just let that compound in your workout. So especially this week, like, you know, we had our buddy who's actually going to be competing with us in the next 5 weeks, you know, hitting compounds. And he's kind of my motivation because we're both at pretty similar numbers. So it's been really inspiring. But I'm just trying not to take like any shortcuts. And similar to what I was saying before, it's like those extra little things, I don't mind trying to like get that extra 3%, that extra 5%, because right now I genuinely feel like I'm doing everything very well. My protein's amazing, my calories, my sleep, my recovery, you know, of course, workouts are really solid there. I just have to catch myself on those odd days where it's like, oh, I'm just going to kind of go through the motions. It's like the last set, the last rep, the last exercise, whatever it is. So just really trying to like be 100% with that, or at least like 95, because I'll never give myself 100. I'm just hard on myself. But yeah, just trying to get to the next level, be better every day. And hopefully that encourages you guys to do the same. I don't think we'll ever be perfect, but we can at least strive to do the best we possibly can be.
Okay, before we jump into the mailbag, we're going to be going to our client shout out for this week. And this week, I'm really proud to shout out my client, Jeremy. Jeremy's continued. He reached out because he wanted to see some change. He wanted to put on some muscle, lose some fat, and we definitely did that, as you can see from his transformation here on screen for YouTube gang, or you can actually check it out on our Instagram. And he absolutely dominated that goal. And what I love about Jeremy is he kept saying, I want more. And no matter the craziness that came in his life with his job, he has a job where he has to respond to emergencies. He's always out there, but he always finds ways to get it done. And he's continued to build systems where he's actually working on things past fitness. He's working on meditating. He's working on just being his best self, on leveling up, on his self-research, on his self-development. It's absolutely awesome to see this unlocked in him, because these were all things before that he wasn't really pushing forward in. And it's just amazing to see how when you really make a decision to say, I'm going to be my best self physically and mentally, it just carries everywhere else. And you want to carry that same level of intention, focus, focus and intensity toward the rest of your life. And that's where you can continue to level up and see some amazing change. So definitely a big shout out to my client, Jeremy. Once again, if you're ready to see real change and you're tired of spinning your wheels, hit us up on Instagram with the keyword real results, and we will take care of you. Now into our questions for this week. Our first question is from Ryan. And actually, before I get into this, for those of you that have questions, please submit them on Spotify. You can actually respond to this episode. I mentioned this last week and we had a lot of people respond, and 2 people asked a question. So I want to give a shout out to Eric, and I want to give a shout out to Tanja, which is absolutely awesome. We will be including those questions in the future. Also a shout out to Kevin and Jody for saying they love the episode, and Laura as well. I love that Laura loved the longer episodes. And I just realized from the back end, when you leave a comment, I can actually publish them for everyone else to see, which is pretty cool. So if you have something nice to say, or if this podcast helped you change in any way, please comment it down below. I'm going to be happy to publish it, and then everyone else can see it, and we can create even more community past this, which is amazing. So once again, this on Spotify at the episode, you should see a little bar to actually leave a response or leave us a note, and that is how you go ahead and do it. If you're not on Spotify and you're on Apple, go ahead and just DM us it on Instagram. We'll make sure to add it to our list, which will be absolutely fantastic. But now we're gonna jump in the mailbag with question 1, which is from Ryan, which is, how do I get my left lat as big as my right one? I don't have any previous injuries, and I've been doing unilateral workouts more often, but I'm not seeing anything to change. So in the past, we've answered this question, and we said the best thing you can do is to actually switch from doing things like together to doing unilateral movements. And what unilateral means is one at a time. So instead of me doing a lat pull down with a bar, in the case of lats, you can do a single arm lat pull down where you have to work each side individually. And the reason for this is when you're doing that bar, oftentimes we can overcompensate with a stronger arm, and that's where you'll see like a crooked bench or something along those lines, and that dominant arm can really push through most of the motion. You really notice these big imbalances in people who use a lot of machines, because once again, you're kind of just firing up that weight from wherever, and if you have a really dominant arm, it can do that. The other common reason people will have really, really bad imbalances is outside of the world. So even for me, when I was personal training a lot, like I'd carry a lot of people's 45-pound plates, and my clients would get super strong because I'd be in there making sure they did, and I'd load their plates for them just as a nice courteous thing. And I'd always carry with my right arm, and I'm like, hey, this is dumb. My right arm's or my left arm's stronger. So it was the opposite. So I started carrying things more with my right. Like I just knew in my day-to-day life, even now when I'm picking up my son, like he's so heavy, you kind of feel it in your arm. Well, not crazy heavy, but heavy enough, and you're holding him for a while. I'll make sure to switch around, carry him in different places. And like, I just think having the awareness, if you're overusing one body part, you can start to naturally correct that outside of the gym. But naturally, unilateral training is going to be your best. And then to even go past that on a deeper level, the best thing you can always do, and if it's really bad, is start with the weaker arm. So in this case of lats, start with that. I'd say, I think he said his left one is weaker. Start with the left one first, always do your set. Maybe you get 10 reps. Then on your right one, if it's way, way stronger, you'd probably be able to do like, let's say 12 reps. Stop at that 10 and let it kind of start to level out. If it was absolutely an insane difference, I looked at you and I'm like, how are you so uneven? You could actually do one less, but I wouldn't advise that for most people. And I find within time, things will naturally seem to develop and improve. And that's kind of what I would recommend there. The other thing I would say is definitely an analyzed form. Sometimes these imbalances can happen because you're actually shifting when you're doing something that's promoting you to use one side more, especially with a lat. Like if you're shrugging up with one like you're shrugging up with your trap, you're not gonna be able to engage your lat as much. And especially if you aren't doing unilateral training, you're gonna actually work that other side even more dominantly. And with imbalances, I think people get super, super worried about it, but like most people would never know it. They never see it. If you're actually doing things one at a time, it'll work itself out. Unless you're like a pro bodybuilder who needs absolute perfect symmetry, our bodies aren't always going to be perfectly symmetrical. There's always going to be things. There could be some scoliosis in there. There could be like a lot behind it. And I think as long as you're making an effort to improve it, I wouldn't worry about it too intensely.
I think honestly, that was so well said, because like the truth is, like, your one side is something that you've always used more, you always will, and it's just your dominant side. So I think it really depends on the discrepancy of like the size difference. Like if it's like, you know, 0.25 of an inch versus like 3 inches, that's a big difference. If it's like 2 reps versus like 10 reps, that's also a big difference. And, you know, you kind of have to evaluate that. But, you know, it seems like we've been giving you tons of challenges lately. And my challenge, working off of what Josh said, was just spend time thinking about each time you pick something up, each time you do something, like what it is that's taking place. And I'm willing to bet you most of the time you are just using your dominant side, carrying groceries, opening stuff, lifting, whatever. But my other challenge that's a little bit different is just to keep going with those changes, right? I noticed from this question, you had said it's only been a month that I've started incorporating these things. And I do find that where some people struggle is like, let's say you have 6 years of built up doing something potentially incorrectly, doing, just the bar, not using these unilateral movements, not keeping these things into consideration, it often will take a little bit longer. Just like someone who spends 5 years eating tons of food, not moving, all this other stuff, you do these amazing habits and changes for a month, it's not going to change just like that. You have to keep going. You have to keep doing these things that you know will work. And I'm willing to bet you over time it will change. Might just be a bit longer than you think.
Awesome. And the next question is one we get asked all the time. So this is a great one for Kyle to answer. How can I improve my grip strength? I feel like it's always holding me back.
It's funny because it kind of works into what I was just saying there, is just like keep going. Sometimes we get asked this from someone who just started lifting. They just started taking upper body training seriously. Like, it is amazing that the more that you do something, the better you get, right? It's kind of crazy, right? But even just the more you do these pull days, lat pull downs, seated rows, deadlifts, pull-ups, chin-ups, all that great stuff. Even the assisted pull-ups and chin-ups are great. Like, you're just going to get better and better and become more resilient. And yes, I do have a lot of exercises that help, but my biggest thing is just like keep going with it. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not a big fan of just trying to reach for a bunch of things that will aid you in the time being, because in the long run, I do believe that it'll make you a little bit weaker, such as someone who just starts deadlifting and you're just going to rely on straps for every single movement. Yes, there will be people out there who say my grip isn't as strong as my back, but like, you have to get there at some point. And instead of just relying on it, I just personally, I've never used them. I did when I first started, and I just got rid of them because now I'm so happy like how amazingly strong my grip is for farmer's walks, for deadlifts, for dead hangs, for anything like that. And those are some great movements, by the way. Deadlifts, the more you do it, even just a double overhand is incredible. It helps you just build so much resilience in your hands. Farmer's walks, dead hangs, as I mentioned, like, they are incredible movements. And if you are struggling, of course, incorporate them into your program. A great thing to add at the very end of your workout, which I've been enjoying doing as well. And honestly, just great grip strength to me is so crucial. And it's one thing that I never really paid attention to at the very beginning, but now I'm like, I love just being able to hold on to whatever for however long I need to. And it's just a really amazing skill to have, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, just fight through those tough times where your grip kind of starts to suck a bit. It will come through, and you have to consider your forearms are way smaller muscles. Like, I just love, if you really, really have bad grip strength, just add in more farmer's walks on the end of like your upper body days until it starts to naturally work itself out. But really just lifting heavy everywhere you go, like heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, heavy bench. Obviously not squats, but you get my point. Like, just learning to lift heavier in general, like, you do that long enough, like, my grip has never been a problem. Like, my grip is just ironclad, which I'm really, really happy about. And using Kyle's tips is going to help you do that even faster. And then last but not least, we have from Mollie, how can I improve squat depth? So I'm going to go against the grain on this one, because I think people get way, way in the weeds, like, with all these crazy things you can do and ankle mobility and all this stuff. And it's funny because there's been a lot more kickback against that, which to me is kind of nice. And like, my first advice would be learn how to actually properly squat. So learn how to hip hinge, learn how to squat with a dumbbell first, then get into a barbell. Like, really learn how to do it the right way. And for some people, that will be a lot of work. It'll be a lot of adjustment, and that will require quite a lot of things, because within learning to squat properly is learning to use the right tools. So if you're squatting in really stupid shoes, it's going to be way harder than it needs to be. It's not going to help you. Play around with it too. And when someone's working through that, or if you watch our form video, you can even play around with elevation and femur lengths. All these things come into consideration, but a lot of it really just comes down to knowing how to do it properly, knowing how to hip hinge. And then from there, like, if you actually have a decent squat, I would always just tell anyone, if their depth isn't there, like, just drop the weight considerably. If you can't do the weight to parallel, you can't do it. Even if you're a strong person, I've said this to Kyle, and I think most people would agree, like, I'd rather see someone doing like a plate super clean than doing 4 plates like really, really poorly. Like, it's just dangerous, unnecessary. You're going to lose a lot of the benefit of the movement. Like, makes no sense and no advantage. And with using that lighter weight, like, you want to prime yourself to always be at that depth. And if you have no idea if you're at that depth, or you think you squat deep, the best thing you can do is film yourself and have someone be honest about it, because I find the video doesn't lie. And even watching yourself, like, way early in my journey, I was kind of at that point where, like, it would count in a comp or it maybe wouldn't. And like, since then I'm like, okay, this is dumb, I'm just going to squat extra 2 inches deep. Like, in one of the feds we were in, you had to be really deep, and now I've just kept that standard and it's kept it consistent. And whenever I film, I make sure I'm at that standard. And I was watching actually yesterday, like, my 585 pound squat, and it was so cool to see that it was so deep, and it's just where I'm comfortable, and I've cued it over and over and over. So those are really my biggest tips. Instead of doing everything under the sun, making it super complicated for no reason. Like, most people will be able to squat to parallel if they're healthy and they do all of the above. You'll be totally fine. We have a really good form video on it. We'll actually link that above, which will be totally awesome as well. But that's my advice. I know Kyle will have more tangibles.
Well, it's funny because originally I started to think, I was writing down a few things once Josh was speaking, and my biggest things were just like not cheating yourself, filming yourself as well, maybe even setting up a box, something that is like kind of low enough to just like give yourself that cue if you don't know. Like, some people I think just really start to take shortcuts, and of course I do have some more tangible tips, but I do think that like those things are the biggest, because I've been guilty of it as well. And I see a lot of times people be like, okay, I'm starting with 1 plate, which is 135 pounds. I'm going to try to increase to 2 plates, and just naturally they're using weight that they're not ready for. So they just start to take that shortcut, where it's like the easiest way to lift that weight instead of just doing it properly will be just to shorten the range of motion. And you see this happen so often. Deadlift is the one thing where I think you can't really cheat as much there, because you have to fully get it off the ground. I guess you can do with really bad form, so that's one thing I'd avoid as well. But even bench press, I'll see someone who's not ready for a certain weight, and they just start to shorten the range of motion because they can, and it's one of those things that you're missing out on so much of the movement. So I will say that is going to be the biggest thing alone, is just that mindset shift of just like increasing before you're ready and leaving your ego at the door. I do believe though, like, there are some people who really just need to work on some hip mobility. And like, once again, I'm not here to tell you to go spend like an hour each day and to do all these different things, because I do think too many people just don't do the movement and don't like kind of actually practice that movement that's going to allow them to get better, and they'll spend way too much time doing other stuff. But I definitely am a fan of just, increasing the hip mobility and helping for those of you who can't properly actually get down there. Like, if you're legit stuck and you're like, I can't do it anymore, of course, you can widen your stance a little bit more as well for those who really are struggling with that. We've, tried to get to a point where our legs are nice and in line with our shoulders, which just means good hip mobility. You can go down comfortably. It's a really good place to be, but you can start with your legs a bit wider, get used to it, and start to increase, bring your legs a little bit closer, more to shoulder width. And I will incorporate a video down below on top of the squat video, just some of my favorite things to do before leg day, day to day, just to help with that type of stuff. If you're someone who sits at a desk all day, if you're someone that drives a ton, if you're someone who just doesn't really think about these things, I do believe it'll help. But above all, leave the ego at the door, keep showing up for yourself. Once again, similar to what I was saying before, keep practicing. You keep showing up, you spend time being patient, you keep doing it over and over and over again, and things will automatically get better. You just have to do it for a certain amount of time.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today. We really do hope you enjoyed it. And if you love our podcast, want to show some support, like, let us know. If you're on Spotify, I know most people are on Spotify. You can actually respond right back to that. We will see it. I'm going to start shutting out one of the comments every week. I think it's just a nice way to give some love there. If you're on YouTube, comment as always. We really appreciate the YouTube gang. And yeah, if you want to see real results, you want to see change, you want guaranteed progress, and you want to see how we've gotten over 3,000 transformations and above a 98% success rate, this is your chance to see the change you deserve to have to be your healthiest, most energetic, happy, most built, beach-ready self. So definitely hit us up with the keyword real results to us on Instagram to @ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.